So your brain, when you go through a breakup, is like freaking out because there's so much uncertainty of like, what the hell am I going to do? So it then keeps trying to revert back to the familiar, even though it was terrible for you. So the amount of times I would have to like have a word with myself and be like, Vic, hun, no.
No.
It's not good for you. Like an addict. And maybe like I would get my friends to kind of be like my accountability partners. Like I try not to do things on the sly. Like I tell them and they'd be like, no, don't do it. And I'm like, okay.
Buckle up, bitches. It's gonna get bumpy. This is the breakup diet.
Welcome back to another episode of the Breakup Diet. Today I'm joined by Vikki. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you so much for coming on. I literally have seen your TikToks for I want to say a year already. It's from the beginning that I started this. I was seeing your TikToks.
No way. I know.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of breakup videos.
Was this the first thing that you decided to do on TikTok that kind of got traction?
Yeah, I've kind of been in the TikTok space for a little while and I love creating content, but I've always wanted to do something with meaning. But by no means with me creating this breakup content did I actually think it would gain traction. I kind of started it, I think a little bit just for my own healing with what I was going through. When I went through the breakup, I was finding videos online on YouTube and TikTok that were really helping me. And I don't know what possessed me one day to just get in the car and sit down and I just started talking to camera and just thought, screw it.
I guess you kind of build a community after that, and you would have had girls probably reaching out to you as well, being saying their experience as well.
100%. And I think in my head, I was I've kind of created a little, it's kind of sad, but a broken hearts club.
No, it's not sad.
Honestly, it went crazy. There were thousands of comments and DMs. Some people were asking for advice and I was a bit oh, well, I'm not a qualified professional. I'm just more of a hype girl and a cheerleader. When I went through my breakup, I'm so blessed with the most amazingly supportive family and friends, but everyone was in relationships with kids or they had not been through a breakup, which after 9 years for me of being engaged to someone, it felt like a divorce. So there was no one that I could really speak to that had actually been through it. So to have someone maybe online for people witnessing me actually freshly going through it and then someone just being do you know what, you're going to be okay. Here's a little bit of advice. Built a really gorgeous community.
So how many breakups have you actually had then?
I'm a lover girl, I'm a relationship girly. So when I was 14 to 18, that was my first love, full-blown relationship. There was that breakup. And then there was the guy I was engaged to with for nearly 9 years. That breakup was actually 2 years ago now. But then since then, I actually got into another relationship with a guy who I'd been friends with for years. And recently, a few months ago, that ended.
Is there anything that you found different between each breakup? Have they all been very different?
I think the first one was I was so young. So I guess it didn't really count. But I think the key sort of personal theme, I would say, in my last two breakups is I kind of felt like I lost myself a little bit in both of them. The guys were totally different. They could not have been different in terms of personality. But I think I've noticed a bit of a pattern in maybe what I do in a relationship. No one's perfect.
What's your one tip, a very good immediate tip for someone going through a breakup then?
Contact.
And does that mean everywhere? Even you can't even have them on social media?
Oh my God, social media is the worst.
Yeah,
absolutely get them off social media. You have to just block. Even I'm not a girl that likes to block and cut people out. I'm terrible at that. I'm such a lover girl. So my ex, the one that I was with for 9 years, I ended up actually supporting him through the breakup once I'd got through the pain of it. It's just the person that I am, I guess. And my friends were what are you doing? But I was I can't not. But for the first, I would say 30 days, because it takes 30 days to break a habit, cut them off everything. Because if you've got 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you're going to be taking 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. And I think just blocking them out of your life, you can then avoid the temptation of oh, I'll just message, or oh, I'll just do that. Because your heart's going to want to do that, but you've got to listen to your head, I think, at that point and just be like, absolutely no way. I just need to stay away. And that is probably the hardest thing.
You could not be happy yourself in this relationship for ages. Okay, maybe the breakup happened and then you still decide like, oh, but he was so nice at one time, he got this. Or
but
like...
do you know what it is? And I've learned, because I'm really into like psychology and all of that, your brain will always try and revert back to the familiar. So even if you've been with someone and say at the end of it, it got really, really bad, and what was familiar to you was like trauma and really tough situations, that consistency of like trauma and bad times, that is what is familiar to your brain, and that provides certainty. So your brain, when you go through a breakup, is like freaking out because there's so much uncertainty of like, what the hell am I going to do? So it then keeps trying to revert back to the familiar, even though it was terrible for you. So the amount of times I would have to like have a word with myself and be like, Vic, hun, no.
no.
This is not good for you. Like an addict. Like you just... And maybe like I would get my friends to kind of be like my accountability partners. Like I try not to do things on the sly. Like I tell them and they'd be like, no, don't do it. And I'm like, okay. If you've got that support network around you to like share what you're doing with people is probably a really good thing as well if you are going through a breakup.
See, I would share it, and then if they told me no, I'd be like, don't care, doing it anyway. And they're like, no.
You don't understand.
No.
I was thinking actually like, when you go through a breakup where you've been hurt and they've given you a reason to leave, it probably hurts more because of the pain of like that hurt and the heartbreak of what they've done to you. But I feel like you can get over it a little bit more quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Because if they're a dickhead
yeah.
or they've done some dickhead moves, can be like, that's not my guy. Whereas like, if you're breaking up because of circumstances or you love them but it just can't work because the timing's wrong or you want different things, that's when it can like long it out. So sometimes I'm like, well, the worse they are, the quicker.
Because even though you're not right together maybe, but you still have a lot of nice and they might be a nice person.
Yeah.
So then the whole time you're like second guessing.
100%.
Even if there were definitely moments in that relationship where I was very not happy at all. But like it still wasn't like that he, for example, cheated or did something that I know about or anything like this, that it was like, makes it a bit easier, even though it's so horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
To be like, no, I can't go back.
Yeah, 100%. And especially if like you're the one doing the rejecting and having to be the one to say, this isn't right for either of us. Oh my God, it is the hardest thing in the world.
I had a guest on and they said, and I really liked what they said with this, it was like, the universe will give you, like, it will tell you what it wants you to do, right? But at first it will whisper and then it gets louder and gets louder. And then like, it will get to a point for me was like when I was obviously having so much anxiety all the time and I didn't know why and felt so teary and so introverted with friends, everything. That was obviously it screaming at me. And then we had the breakup. So
it turns into a shout. And I truly believe the universe will not give you peace in something that you're not supposed to settle in. And I feel like, you know, when you're with someone and you've got a feeling inside that something isn't right. But I think, again, as women, and not to like gender stereotype, but when you get into your 30s, if you do want to have children, there is more of then a pressure on finding someone because of our body clocks. Yeah. So I think sometimes maybe we try to make something work and the universe will be like, no. And it will keep making that person or life mess up. And it will get, like you say, bigger and bigger and louder. Sometimes, yeah, it takes it to the point where then it has to snap or you have to snap. But I think it's so hard to then like have that discernment to like walk away and listen to your gut prematurely. Like I've certainly in my relationships, like I'll let it play out until like the worst moment where I get to a point where I'm like, okay, there's no going back now for me. Because then I think I know like, oh, I don't have any regret. But then it's always the way, the red flag that your gut responds to at the start, always the reason, then at the end of the relationship, this is what I've always found with me, is the reason that we've ended up breaking up.
Yeah, it is. It always is. Mine was too.
Yeah.
And it's funny how, like, for example, I just said my response in that relationship was like the anxiety. I remember breaking down to my mum. We were on a flight, and I think like we'd just become boyfriend, girlfriend, or something like this. And I remember like, so it should be really happy, right? And I just remember crying on this whole flight, and I didn't know why I was crying. And I was like, I just like feel like he's such a nice guy, but I just didn't feel like he was the one. But I remember crying, crying, crying. And then you forget, because you then have such amazing times too, and you see them again, or you like have an amazing trip together, or you like have an amazing weekend, whatever you do, and you forget about it. So then you like let it go, and then that feeling might pop up every month, and then it goes, and it's like, it's hard also, I think, when you're in a relationship and you might have had a bad relationship before, not to take the things from before into the new one.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You can, I think that's the difference with, you'll carry anxieties into the next relationship. And it's like how to differentiate between like your own anxiety that you might be projecting on the relationship because of what you've been through in the past, which is so normal. Like, of course that's going to happen. And then like the gut feeling. And I think the anxiety will tend to be a little bit messy and loud. Whereas a gut feeling, it would just be like a little voice in your head that would be like, "Ooh, I didn't love that he did that, but we'll keep an eye on it." Whereas anxiety would be like, he hasn't even done anything, and your brain's like, "Oh my God, but what if he doesn't text back? And then what if he's going to hurt me? And what if he's going to do?" So I think
that's a good way to look at it, because I was going to ask you, how do you know when it's like a fear of your own and when it's that?
I think it's that. I think anxiety, from my experience and from what I've learned, is like it's more chaotic, and it's not necessarily in response to something they've done. It might just be your brain just going off on one. Yeah. And the gut feeling, it's interesting as well, because when you were talking about when you were on the plane and what you said to your mum, you were literally saying, "I just feel like," whereas as your anxiety would be like, "But what if I think," and it's coming from up here. So it's like noticing like, what is a feeling, quite a calm feeling, and what is like this chaotic, oh my God, is it with a gut feeling. You kind of have to let it like play out a little bit. And I think the thing that I've learned in going to like a new relationship now is not to let myself get like attached too quickly, because when you keep like, you're in it, but you're kind of like a little bit, at arm's length, you can hear your feelings much better. I feel like I'm way less chaotic than I was before.
How long would you say to do that for, though? Like to hold yourself a bit more like reserved?
I think I wouldn't put a time limit on it. As long as you need to feel the feeling of safety. I think like as women, this is what I've learned, we want to feel safe emotionally, physically, mentally. And you've got to let the guy like create that environment for you to feel safe. And I think you'll just get to a point where you're like, ooh, rather than just listening to what he's saying, because I've been really terrible with this before with guys, like they'll say words and I'll be like, okay, yeah, they've said it, so that's gonna happen, and then it doesn't, and I'm like heartbroken. You'll just get to a point where you're like, ooh, they actually are who they say they are, and the actions align. And then when you feel that feeling of safety, and also when you've given it maybe long enough that your nervous system's like, okay, we've been together a good few months now and my nervous system's chilling.
Yeah.
Like for you at the start, and I actually had this with a previous partner, even before we were together, it was chaos. And I'm like, why did I walk into, but shoulda, woulda, coulda, right?
Yeah. Well, also, for my brain, I don't know if this is like relatable, but I like will blame everything else besides the actual like person. I'm like, no, it's not. It couldn't be that. It must be because like this person at work's having a stressful time that's now put it on. You know what I mean? Or
especially if you're an empath and if you are an empath and that person that you're with is behaving a certain way, you then sort of assign something to it. Oh, but poor them, they went through that, or they're really stressed at work, or they went through something that's caused them to be like that. But I think I've now had to be really hard on myself to say, okay, Vic, that's great, but you cannot be collateral damage, end up being hurt and being collateral damage because of someone else's problems or issues that they haven't gone and resolved, or at least become self-aware of. If you end up getting hurt because of someone else's shit that they haven't resolved, you have to get to a point where you're like, actually, no, that's not my weight to carry. That's not a good enough excuse. And no one's perfect. Like, I'm not saying everyone's got issues. I've got issues. But you've got to know that that person is aware of them and at least working on them so that you're protected from it. Yes, you're going to support them, but you can't end up being the punch bag or getting hurt or being cheated on or lied to because of their unresolved wounds. Or because of a man who's at war with himself and you're just there. Now your nervous system's in bits because of someone else. Like, they've got to, and everyone's got to like be aware and like work on yourself, but you have to, like, this is me actually like telling myself, Vic, if I go into something again, if I meet someone and they're like, do you know what? I've gone through this, but I'm working on it. Great. But if they're not self-aware and I'm getting hurt as a result of it, no, drop me out.
With like my life and my future is thinking about what actually is really important and like what I really want and what my actual non-negotiables are in a relationship, how many I should even have. Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to have like 20 and then like, it's hard to prioritize, I find.
Yeah, 100%. I think the first step you've got to do is like, before you even think about what do I want in a partner, you've just got to think about like, what do you want for you in your life and what's just important to you as a person? Because I think that question you'd be able to answer.
But then I feel like you have split personalities. Like, I don't know if you've had like, not personalities, but things that you like. Like, I don't know if you've seen that trend on TikTok where it's like the beach lifestyle, but then it's like the city, or like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're in bed at night and you're like wearing a face mask, and then like the other clip of the video that it's switching between is like you going out and having fun with your friends. So like, for example, I love the beach and I love like, I'm from Australia and I love all that lifestyle, but then also I love the city. So even on that, I'm like, really though, where would I want to be?
That, what I would say is take it like one step deeper. So rather than it, and this is just in terms of like, I'm so passionate about like how to figure out what you want in life and like your purpose and what makes you happy. And I think the biggest thing for me is, rather than trying to envision like, what is my life supposed to look like? What am I going to be doing? Take it one step deeper and be like, how do I want to feel? So I'm like you, I value like peace, tranquility, like independence, like that chill life. But then I want variety and I want fun and I want playfulness. So it's like, what are the feelings in life that are really, really important to you? And you could totally flip between the two. So for you, in terms of, yeah, you want that like chill lifestyle where maybe your body just feels like at peace. Maybe you don't want like a real high pressure job. Like, some people absolutely thrive off that. Like they actually thrive off stress. But maybe for you, you want to do something that you really enjoy, you really love, but you can organise your own schedule. And like it's more of the Australian like lifestyle, isn't it? Where you can wake up, do what you need to do, go for a walk, do your job. But then at the weekends, you want some spice and variety as well. Like, you need both equally. So it's like, if you were to live your best life, what's important to you is like how that would make you feel. Some people don't value variety as much. Some people literally could do the same thing every single day, and that's what makes them feel really happy. Like, they want that certainty. They don't really value that sort of variety, that side of things. So I think it's like getting clear on like, what do you want to feel firstly in your own life? And then the next thing, sort of like when it comes to non-negotiables with like a partner, yeah, decide whether or not like, do you want to have a family? Is family life important to you? Because as a woman, I think obviously that is really important to make sure at the start of a relationship, because of what I've been through, does that person want the same thing? Because you can't have your time wasted, because time is the most important thing for anyone in life, but especially for women if you do want to have a family. But then after that, if you're trying to decide between, okay, what are my nice to haves and what are my non-negotiables? Again, it's like linked back to like how you want to feel in a relationship. So for me, for example, And it's always based on like how you operate as a person. I'm a really deep thinker. So I if I'm going to be spending my life with someone, I want to be able to have someone where I'm like, can we just chat about this? Or can I bounce this idea off you? Or if I'm doing something wrong, I want that person to be able to say to me, babe, have you thought about this? Like, can we talk about this together? Or if we go through a problem, whereas some people, they just don't have that. They're just not too bothered, or maybe they don't. I like a lot of emotional depth, but for someone else, it might not be important. So it's like thinking about those sort of things that, again, that would make you feel safe and seen and heard in a relationship. What I would actually do is, if you use like ChatGPT or AI, is brain dump. ChatGPT, if you do use it, will probably know you already. And I did this recently. Brain dump like everything about like yourself and like how you want to feel in life and like what you'd love to look for in a partner, and say like, can you summarize like what my core values are?
That's actually good.
And also what you can say is, this is what I've been through in a previous relationship and why we ended up splitting up. And it kind of like then spits out like, well, this is what matters to you. And it like just summarizes it. Because it's really hard for us to be like, well, what do I want? Like to put it into words. Because we never get taught how to do that when we're kids, right? So mine was like, you want emotional depth and maturity. I was like, yeah, like just a bit, not in a condescending way, but just like, yes, because I want to be able to talk to someone, you know, and like express my emotions and them do it back. Independence was like a massive one. For other people, it might not be independence. Communication, like autonomy, like, and a massive thing for me is like creativity. But it was like, you don't necessarily need to seek that in another person, but they must be able to give you space to be creative. Do you know what I mean? And like appreciate that as well. And then it can sort it into the categories where it's like, are they over 6'2"? Do they look like Jacob Elordi? Do you know what I mean? Like the things that are like the nice to haves, but they're not like the absolute essentials. Or for me, I absolutely love music. And like with my ex, we used to go to festivals, nights out together. We'd listen to the same music in the car. But would it be a deal breaker if we listen to different things?
No, but it's not.
Yeah. So it's just like understanding like what's the difference between the two. But AI is scary, but honestly, it's really good at helping you to like profile who you are and what you want.
See, I use it a lot in general, but I've never done it for that, and I'm actually going to do that.
Honestly, do it and like literally tell it like, give me like summarize it in 5 bullet points.
I'm going to talk to it and do it as well, because you can just put the voice
Oh my
thing in.
God, yeah.
And
Talk
then-
to it like it's your diary.
Yeah.
How it does it, it's wild. Mine ChatGPT is hilarious as well. Like it talks to me in my tone of voice and it's like, hey babe.
Oh, does it?
Hey lovely. It gives me emojis and everything. It's like my chat. Honestly, ChatGPT is amazing at helping you just like figure out or just put into words, this is what your values are. This is what you want. This is what the questions that you should be asking them when you first meet someone.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that myself.
Yeah. Honestly, it will save, a lot of time.
Okay, my last question is, what's something in your life now that you love that probably wouldn't have happened because of your breakup, or one of your breakups?
I think for me personally, the life that I live now in London, like I used to live in Birmingham, we'd bought a house, it was like we had a dog, we were living this family life. And now I have my own apartment that I pay for all by myself. It has this amazing view of like the teeny tiny Shard and the London Eye. Like I always dreamt of living in London when I was young. The job I do is now my dream job. I would never, ever, ever have been able to do that if it weren't for the breakup. It ended up opening this crazy door of opportunity that I wake up every day and I am so grateful for. And I think that's the thing, like when you go through so much loss, it makes the gain like so much sweeter. And I think just having that gratitude every day, it's really strengthened me. And it's like, everyone's like, you're so happy, like how are you doing so well? And I'm like, well, one, because I'm like so happy living this life. But number two, I think you also gain so much, I don't know, like strength, and you feel proud, knowledge. Yeah. And I'm like, my little me is like, woo, go girl. And I'm just so grateful every day. I'm grateful for my friends. And I think if you are like going through a breakup currently, my biggest piece of advice, and I think this is for anything in life, if you're going through like any form of loss or hardship, it makes me emotional thinking about it actually. I feel like there is beauty everywhere, and it's like just be grateful for the little things and do something for yourself every day that makes you feel like warm inside. Even just like making like your favorite cup of tea, taking 5 minutes in the morning. Like I would either go and scream in my car or like put on music really, really loud and just dance in my kitchen on my own. And if you just look for the beauty in everything that you're grateful for in life, it just takes your mind off of the loss and focuses on all the good that there is. And that sounds so deep and so big, but I think having that mindset every time you feel yourself like going down a hole of like, oh my God, but I'm nothing without them, it's like, look at all this that you have to gain. My final piece of advice to anyone going through a breakup, or if you've just gone through a really tough time in life, or if you're just generally doing life at the moment because it's tough at the moment, I think as adults, we forget to play and have fun. And I think I got to a point in that breakup where I was like, I'm sick of being in survival mode and feeling shit and crying. And I think I just woke up one day and I was like, I'm just going to focus on having fun. And that became my focus, and just doing things every single day that would bring me joy, and like starting new things. Like I started boxing, me and the girlies took me away on like a surprise holiday. I went vintage shopping, bought myself a load of outfits that was like this new version of me, cleared out my closet, like made way for like the new me. And I think that is like the top of like my focus at the moment in life. It's just like
having fun again.
Having fun. And I think sometimes you get so, oh my God, everything's so terrible and it feels so bad and I can't believe you did that. Or I can't believe this bad thing's happening in life. And me and the girlies always say when we're freaking out, we're like, hun, we're on a rock and it's spinning. Who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like we get so freaked out about everything and it's like, oh, screw it. It's fine. And just lean on your friends and family and just have a bloody good time. Go dancing.
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride because it's a bloody roller coaster.